Instagram Reels have changed a lot since they were first released 2 years ago. And some of those typical formats that you might be used to seeing as high performers just aren't getting the high views that they used to. I've talked about Instagram strategy and specifically Instagram Reels strategy a bunch on this channel already, but I thought that it was time that we were due for a late 2022 update so I could share with you what's actually working on Reels these days. Specifically, I want to share 4 different formats that work really well for me and I think work really well in general for getting you traction in the Reels feed. Okay, but actually before we get into those 4 formats that work really well in terms of getting you views, I thought it might be helpful if we go over some of those popular classic Reels formats that you might still be posting that just aren't really it. All of these types of Reels had their time in the sun, but I'm really finding, and I think many creators are finding, that they just aren't getting the reach that they used to. I think audiences are kind of getting bored of them. Okay, so one is the classic dancing and pointing format. Look, I've done it a lot, I'm not gonna lie. Has it always felt a little goofy and cheesy? Yes, but so does this whole being an influencer thing. It feels a little goofy and cheesy, okay? So it's not like that's any different. But there was a time where seriously you would post like a 5-second video of you pointing to different tips or whatever, and it could get like thousands and thousands of views. Partially because if you made the text move fast enough, then people would be obligated to like watch it over and over again to actually catch all of it, which is sneaky, but it worked. But I think that people are getting kind of sick of that and would rather just actually have like good engaging content that connects with them, that isn't kind of trying to trick them into giving more engagement. Another format that is so yesterday now on Reels is obviously repurposed TikToks. I mean, we've known for a while now that posting videos with an obvious watermark is a no-no, but I've also found that like Reels is actually starting to develop its own culture. And sometimes the trends that are doing well on TikTok aren't gonna do well on Reels and vice versa. I do definitely think that there can be a lot of overlap and a lot of sort of the high value, like evergreen style short form videos that I post on Reels and TikTok, but there are some things that just have more of a Reels vibe. Okay, and finally, just posting a bunch of these really short kind of like soundbite lip sync clips. I think these were like guaranteed viral hits for a little while there, but that's sort of fading. I think part of it is that in order for it to actually perform really well, you need to have a really good take. You need to have a really good like sense of humor and really clever captions, and like not everybody, does. Not saying that I do. I've definitely made some TikToks or Reels like this that aren't hits. But I just think the whole idea of these like really short, repetitive lip syncs, they're just not hitting the same way they once did. Overall, I think we've really seen Instagram Reels start to develop its own aesthetic and its own culture, which is really interesting because when it was first launched 2 years ago, it was literally just TikTok, but 2 weeks later, it was just kind of slightly behind. But now people are creating stuff just for Reels, and it's really starting to develop its own sense of itself as a platform. What I find really interesting is Instagram's legacy of being very curated, very aesthetic, very like visuals focused is definitely coming to play in the trends that we're seeing on Reels. Whereas TikTok, on the other hand, is very raw, real, unfiltered. I think what we're seeing become more and more popular on the Reels feed is essentially like magazine images come to life. I was actually recently listening to a podcast that's produced by Vox called Land of the Giants, and I've actually listened to like all the past seasons of this podcast as well. Basically, they do like a deep dive telling the story of a major tech company. So they've talked about like Amazon and Google, and then this season they're talking about Meta, formerly known as Facebook. And there was a whole episode about Meta acquiring Instagram back in the day. And the host of the podcast talked about one distinctive trait that really sets Instagram apart as a social media platform, and that is curation.
Curation. Facebook was about photo albums, but with Instagram, you're offering just a tantalizing glimpse into your life, straight from the camera in your pocket.
The result was like a magazine spread. Pretty highlights of you and your friends' lives, perfectly edited and framed into neat squares.
If your Instagram feed was the magazine, Kevin Systrom was editor-in-chief. Systrom, the co-founder of Instagram, had this curated GQ highbrow idea of life.
Instagram's original founder, Kevin Systrom, was really known for his commitment to like the style and aesthetic of it all. And I find it so fascinating that the influences of this original founder, who really saw Instagram as a platform to share beautiful images, like almost like a fashion magazine. That is still coming through in the culture of the content today. So all of that being said, while I think there's room to break the mold and kind of put yourself out there, be a little bit more real, raw, and vulnerable, and I do think when you do that, you'll see increased engagement from the people who are already following you because people appreciate that kind of realness. I think that that's great. I think that's an opportunity to integrate that into your content. But in general, I think that we're continuing to see that Instagram really is about the visuals, and sharing stunning, eye-catching visuals is going to be a really great way to grow. And that is also going to be a part of your Reels strategy. Okay, so I've talked in the theoretical about what's working on Reels these days, but let's look at some very practical examples. Like I said, I've got 4 different formats that I think you might want to try. The first one is a trending audio with some aesthetic B-roll. This seems to really be the dominant form on Instagram Reels right now. Like I would say 70% of the content that comes up on my Reels feed is this. Here's one that I made recently, which honestly I was very impressed with the performance of, because at first it was just kind of doing like meh, like average, but then within like the week or so that I posted it, all of a sudden it became one of my like most highly viewed Reels from the past few months. I like to think about this format as like a moving photo album. When you're grabbing your footage for making this kind of reel, be really intentional about it. Like really try to like think about composition and framing and grab like a beautiful video clip. I think a lot of us, when we just like pick up our phones and start filming like vertical footage, we're often just doing it to document something or like quickly show something. Whereas when you're making Reels like this, you need to think about it as if you were framing up to like take a photo for the feed. Really think about this like our classic Instagram feed photos, but come to life in video format. I think this also works out best if you can choose like a story or a theme that all of these clips kind of go along with. If they're just totally random, then it doesn't make sense to the viewer. But if there's like an aesthetic theme, like there's a clear color palette across all the clips, or maybe they're from a certain moment in time. Like in my example, it's like summer van life vibes. You know, there's a clear kind of theme to it. But yours could be like your chill morning routine, or like a walk at sunset, or whatever. It doesn't actually have to be from like a long period of time. It could be just like clips that you take within a 10-minute period. But if they have good composition, if they're beautifully framed and they look good and they're set to trending audio, you've got a hit on your hands. So like I said, with my reel, it was clear that it was like van life, summer vibes, but I also tried to bring that story together in the caption. Reels captions are kind of an interesting thing. I feel like the culture around them hasn't fully emerged. Like I feel like there's a real sense of the type of TikTok caption that does well. Normally it's something that kind of like comments on something within the video, sort of brings something specific out of the video. It's like not super explanatory. Normally it's a little bit of a joke and it's short. But with Reels, we don't really have that kind of a sense yet. I think people are still trying to figure out what Instagram Reels captions should be like. So it's definitely an experimental phase. Sometimes I include long captions for my Reels that kind of go above and beyond what the Reel was talking about. Sometimes I keep it short and clever. In general though, if you struggle with writing captions for Instagram, then I'm really excited to introduce you to the sponsor of today's video, Hey Friday. Hey Friday is an innovative AI writing software. With Hey Friday, you'll never need to worry about writer's block again, trust me. Let me show you how it works. You open up Hey Friday and then you head over to their huge and growing group of templates for writing all kinds of different copy for the internet. Choosing a template will help the AI know where exactly your content is going so it can format it in the best way possible. You can see they have templates for writing cold emails, YouTube scripts, Facebook ad copy, and so much more. I've added these to my favorites list, but if you scroll through, you can see there are tons of options. So you click on one of these templates. For the sake of writing an Instagram caption, I suggest using the blog section writing template, since an Instagram caption is pretty much like a mini blog post. And then I'm gonna make sure that I've selected the tone of voice that I'm going for, so in this case, passionate. Then you can enter a few bullet point notes or general ideas that you have on the topic. So I might enter something like the confidence you need to become a content creator, getting over imposter syndrome, and learning to love yourself. And then I'll click generate. And you can see that in just a few seconds, Hey Friday writes me the perfect first draft that I can use as a starting point for writing my Instagram caption. Now, I definitely think this is a tool to help you with your writing rather than fully replace it. So I suggest going into the text that Hey Friday generates and adding your own personal touch and kind of changing things up based on how you feel like you would say it. In a lot of cases, Hey Friday can be a great tool to get you started and get you over that writer's block. Even if you end up going in a totally different direction, I feel like it can get you over that initial struggle of just the cursor blinking away on a blank screen. So whether it's for Instagram captions, blog posts, marketing newsletters, or anything else, check out Hey Friday to help you work through that writer's block and get some initial thoughts down on paper, or I guess on a screen. And with my exclusive code in the description, you can get Hey Friday's Pro package for just $9.99 a month. Usually it's $19 a month, so that's a really good deal. Make sure you check out my code and my link in the description. Plus, for both new and old users of Hey Friday, if you join the Hey Friday Facebook group, you can participate in challenges, provide feedback, and win rewards and cash prizes. So make sure you check that out as well. The second reel format that performs really well is doing your makeup on camera. Okay, so I did not expect this reel to get nearly as many views as it did. Normally my reels get anywhere from like, I want to say 4,000 to like 6,000 or 8,000 views. Like that's kind of typical, but this one got 17,000 views. And that's really good for me. I think doing your makeup on camera is a really fun way to visually keep your viewers engaged while you're delivering whatever message you actually want to share. So in the case of this video, I was talking about building a sustainable Instagram strategy, and I was just doing my makeup at the same time. Doing your makeup is a natural kind of built-in visual story. It's a before and after, it's a transformation. And even if you aren't the kind of person that likes to do their makeup, there's still options for you. Like you could make a coffee or do some other kind of like visual transformation on camera while you're talking. I actually made a whole YouTube video about why exactly this format is so effective and why we see it all over the place on Reels and TikTok. So you can check out that video if you want the full explanation, but just know this is a very engaging format. It's quite easy to do and you can apply it to really any niche. Like you can talk about anything while you do your makeup. So try it out if you haven't already. Reel format number 3 that I want you to try is again using a trending audio, but this time just a single B-roll clip and then some inspirational text layered over top. This is one of the most low effort reels you can make because in a lot of cases you can grab a video clip that you already have in your camera roll and then just add like an inspirational or moody or emotional trending audio over top of it and then add a quote that you want to share. This reel that I made using this format got me 14.3 thousand views, which again is really good for me, and it took me like 2 minutes to make. Again, as with the first format that I talked about, it is really important that your footage is beautiful. It has nice composition, good colors, it's framed nicely. This is not going to work with, grainy or like just bad looking footage. So make sure you think about that. But as you keep the Instagram aesthetic in your mind, like as you go around and like capture your media that you could potentially use in the future, then you can start gathering a library of B-roll essentially that's framed nicely, vertically, has good lighting, all of that stuff. And then you can keep reusing it for this type of format. And it's so quick to do. I think in general, short, beautiful, inspiring content is the exact kind of thing that performs well on Reels. And it just so happens that it's also a great venue for repurposing your vertical footage that you've already gathered. Okay, and the fourth format that I wanted to show with you kind of goes against what I was saying before about Instagram being all about aesthetic, but this is essentially just a talking to camera tutorial video. I wanted to share this because this is a format that does perform well for me on occasion. I think that if you hit on a type of tutorial or a specific pain point or question that people are thinking about, then you can have a lot of success. So I made this one about how to create a Reels brand guide. And I think it was just a really helpful tip that maybe people hadn't thought about before. So even though this is definitely not the most aesthetic video in the world, it is one of my like higher viewed videos. So I wanted to include this just to say, it's not necessarily all about just looking pretty on Instagram. If you have really high value, interesting info to share, if you share it in a way that's concise and straightforward, you can still have success with that. It doesn't have to like look beautiful. So definitely try out these 4 formats, experiment with them, see what works with your audience, because obviously your results might be different than mine. But I think it's just important to remember, even though Instagram isn't just a photo sharing app anymore, they have certainly stuck to their roots when it comes to the importance of aesthetics and visuals in all kinds of content, including photos and videos. And also remember that every reel is not necessarily meant for viral success. I think if you incorporate these formats even into like 1/3 of your overall reels content, that can be a really good even experiment to try out with, because it's also good to make sure that your reels are promoting what you're actually trying to sell. Also sharing a little bit of your personality to help you get closer to your audience. The number one goal is not always just massive reach. Like there's other stuff that we're trying to do with our content as well. So remember that. It's all about balance. Now, if you want to learn about what I think is the most important factor in your growth on Instagram that has nothing to do with Reels, then check out this video. Make sure you watch that next. Also remember that my new course, the Instagram Roadmap, is currently available. I would love to see you over there in the course, and the launch is live until next Friday, September 16th. So make sure you sign up before then if you want all the launch bonuses. Can't wait to see you over in the Instagram Roadmap. As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you're having adventures and following your dreams, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.